Hello people, this is Self-Turts, and in this video we are going to learn about a data pipeline creation with the help of Kafka, Logstash and Elasticsearch. So basically this Logstash and Elasticsearch are the components of the ELK ecosystem. So in the ELK ecosystem, we generally do data manipulation and then data viewing through some graph, etc. So basically that is a part of ELK stack. In this video, we will integrate Kafka with this ELK stack and we will mimic a scenario wherein we'll publish some registration data and that will be pushed to Elasticsearch and then that will be viewed to the Kibana. We will have a Kafka server and there will be a Kafka producer written in Python. So we'll be writing a Kafka producer in Python and that will publish some data to this Kafka server. Now there is this ELK ecosystem or ELK stack which has this Elasticsearch application running and there is a Kibana application running. So this Kibana act as a graphical user interface for this Elasticsearch. So basically you can create some indexes, you can create some graph, you can view the data inside the indexes and other things. The Logstash here plays an important role because it consumes data from this Kafka server and then it pushes that data to this Elasticsearch. So basically we'll be creating this whole pipeline in this video. So before creating the pipeline, there are some prerequisites that needs to be fulfilled. The first one is the Docker, and Docker Compose must be installed on your system. Because Docker and Docker Compose is system dependent or operating system dependent, I'll leave it on you that how you install it by searching some blog. The next thing is the Kafka, that also should be installed. The third thing is the Elasticsearch. Then you have Kibana and finally you have Logstash. So we will be installing Kafka, Elasticsearch, Kibana and Logstash in this video tutorial. I'll also paste the link of other videos on this like installation of these applications or some post which will help you to install for your own operating system. We will go to my website selfturts.com and here you can see I have written a lot of posts related to these things. So first thing is that we will do Elasticsearch and Kibana installation. So this is one of the posts. The post link will be given in the descriptions below. So for this Elasticsearch and Kibana installation, there is this YAML file. So I'll just copy and paste it and I'll go to my Linux box I'll go inside sandbox and here I'll create a new file, that is YAML file. The name of the file will be elasticsearch.yaml or YAML, something, whatever you want. Then I'll do what? I'll just paste this content here. I copied it from there and I pasted it here. I'll also paste the link of a video which explains all these things. What are this configuration and what are this data? But the most important thing that you need to understand here is what? Elasticsearch will be running on the port 9200 and Kibana will be running on the port 95601. So these are the two important ports that you need to know because you can access these two applications, Elasticsearch and Kibana, on the basis of these ports. Now there is no extra configuration needed. This is just a simple Docker Compose file. Let's save this file and try to start our Docker container. So the command that we are going to use is Docker Compose -f. The -f says what is the file name. So it is elasticsearch.yaml and then I'll say up. So this will start all the services in the foreground mode, that is all the logs will be present here and you will be able to see all the logs. Now I have already having this Elasticsearch and Kibana images on my local Docker. That's why it didn't download it. But in your case, if it is not there, then it will try to download it and then it can take time. This particular section will start what thing? This will start two things. That is the services are Zookeeper. Not Zookeeper, it will be Elasticsearch and Kibana. Now the second thing or the second prerequisite that we saw here is the installation of Kafka. So we'll be installing Kafka using this post. I have already created a video and I will share the link of this post in my description for this video. So I'll just copy this particular YAML file. I'll again come to my Linux box and here I'll say kafka.yaml. Okay, so it is YAML. Now here again what I'm going to do, I'm going to just paste this data, and one configuration that you need to do here is you need to provide your machine IP address in the Kafka advertise host name. So my machine IP address is 192.168.0.10 it will be different for your machine, and then you need to provide that IP address. So finding the IP address is very easy. You can use ifconfig command, ipconfig command, any command whichever you want based on your operating system. The important thing that you need to understand here is that this will start 3 services: Kafka Manager, Kafka and Zookeeper. So Kafka Manager is a graphical user interface to create topics and other things. So we'll just see it in some time. The Zookeeper is running on the port 2181. Kafka is running on the port 9092. And Kafka Manager is running on the port 9000. We have previously seen that Elasticsearch and Kibana have their own port, which you can see here. That is, Elasticsearch was running on 9200 and Kibana was running on 5601. You can see here 5601. So let's save this file for our Kafka and Kafka Manager, and we'll just start the services. So we'll again say docker compose -f, and the name of the file is Kafka and up. So it will create what? It will create 3 containers, that is Kafka, Zookeeper and Kafka Manager. Let's go to another window here in my terminal and let's say docker ps. So you will see all the containers that are running. So you can see here Zookeeper is 1, Kafka is 1, Kafka Manager is 1, Kibana is 1 and Elasticsearch is 1. So all the prerequisite has been done except the Logstash installation. So you can follow this particular thing to install it on Ubuntu 18.04, or you can search it on Google, or you can follow some blogs to install Logstash on your operating system. After the installation of Logstash, you will see one important thing is the configuration folder. All those configurations are being provided inside this folder, that is etc logstash and then this conf.d. Let's go inside that folder here. So I'll come here and I'll create one more window or a pane here. So I'll just say cd/etc and then logstash and then conf.d. So you can see here I'm inside this file. Let's remove all the things that are present here. So I'll just say rm -rf star. So it is giving me permission error. So I'll just say sudo and then I need to provide my password. Fine. So now if I do ls, you can see the file is empty. Let's see that whether the Logstash is running or not. So for that, I just need to type the command systemctl and then status and then Logstash. Okay, fine. So Logstash is what? It is inactive or dead. It is not running. So that is fine. So still it is not running, which means that if there is some config file, it will not pick it up and it will not start the pipeline. The important thing that I want to focus here is that you need to write your configuration in this folder where you can find the logs related to Logstash. It will be present inside this folder var log logstash. So if I go there, var log logstash. So if I go here and if I do a ls, you can see logstash plain.log. So all the logs related to Logstash will be present here. If nothing is working or if there's some error, then you can go into this log file and check what is the reason. So let's go to our previous folder, that is the conf folder. So I'm present here. I'll do a ls and it is still empty. According to our pipeline, first we need to create a producer. So for that, I will be using PyCharm ID to create my producer. And in this PyCharm, we will be using some important modules, which we'll come to know now. So what I'm going to do here is, this is my PyCharm. I'll create a new project and it will be a pure Python project. Let's select the directory where you want to create. So inside my D drive, there is a workspace and inside here it is Python. So here I'm going to name this as Kafka Elasticsearch pipeline. Okay, so it's a big name, but it's satisfied that what we are going to do. So it is saying Kafka Elasticsearch pipeline. Let's do a OK. And here also okay, and we will be running it inside a virtual environment. If you're familiar with Python, then you must know what is virtual environment. We will just hit create. So this will do what? This will try to create a new virtual environment, and once the virtual environment is created, we will be able to code our own producer. I've already written a post for it. You can follow that post also. So if you go to my website, you can see here I have already written a post for this particular video. Here you can see all the stuffs that are present here. I've explained it. You can also follow this video for the explanation and other thing. So inside here, what we are going to do, we will be creating a Kafka producer. So we'll follow this one particular article. If you find something to copy and paste like the code, you can just come to this particular post and then you can copy paste it. Let's see what is the status of our PyCharm. So okay, the folder has been created and now we'll create a new file here. So the new file will be what? New file will be producer.py. This file is generated. Let's install the dependencies for our Python application. So the first thing is what? I'll open my terminal and you can see my virtual environment is active and the folder is this. So I'll just say pip install faker. This is a Python library that we use to generate fake data. So let's say you want to create a fake name every time if you're, because we don't need a real application. We just want the real data kind of thing. So we'll just say, okay, give me 10 different names or 20 different names in every request. So this faker module will help you to get that. Okay, so pip install faker will help you to install the faker module. It has been successfully installed. Now let's install another module, and the name of the module is Kafka Python. So what does this Kafka Python do? As you see, the name already suggests that it helps you to connect your Python application to Kafka. So this has also been installed, and now we will minimize it. After that, what we are going to do is we will write our fake data that we will be generating. So for that, I'll say from faker import faker. So this is one of the class, and after the class has been imported, we'll create an instance of it. So we'll say fake is equal to faker. So the instance of the faker class has been created, and now we'll define a method that will be what? Get registered data. So this is one of the method. As the name suggests, it will give you a registration data. So the data will return what? It will return you three things. First is what? It will be name. Okay, so I'll just say name, and the name will be what? It will be fake.name. So every time this method runs, this will give you a different name. So that is the powerful that is how powerful faker module is, that every time if you run this method get registered data, it will give you a different name. Same way we will say address, and here what we are going to do, we will say fake dot address. So see, you just write this method and you will get a fake address every time. Then we will say created at, and in the created at we will say fake dot year, because we want just the year. So this will return you a fake registration data, that is get registered data. Okay, now once the registration data is here, we will try to send this data or push this data to Kafka. So for that we need to create a Kafka producer. So for that, from Kafka import, you can see what are the different things. There's Kafka client, admin client, Kafka consumer, broker connection. We are interested in Kafka producer. So I just took this Kafka producer, and then what I'm gonna do is I'll create a producer instance. So I'll say producer is equal to Kafka producer, and this Kafka producer accepts some arguments or parameters. So the first argument is what? Bootstrap server. So the name is important because it is a named argument, and you need to type it correctly. Now in our case, the Linux box that we are running here, where we are running the Kafka, what is there? It is running on a particular IP address which is equal to 192.168.0.10. This can be different in your case, because you will be using some different VM. You can use AWS, you can use cloud system like Google or anything, that will be different. So IP address is important because this is the broker or the bootstrap server IP address, and the port on which our Kafka is running is what? So if you see the Docker containers that are running, you can see Kafka, and it is running on 9092 port. So I'll just say 9092 port. So the broker configuration is done. Second thing is what? Whenever you are sending data to Kafka, you need to serialize it. Serialize means what? You need to convert it into a format that is able to be transferred over the wire. If you send an object, let's say we created an object and you are sending it, so it is difficult to send because you can't send objects over the wire. You can serialize it, you can convert it to a string, and then it will be sent as a bits. So that's why there's an important technique in Kafka producer that is called serialization and deserialization. So when you are sending the data, it is serialized, and when you are again consuming it, it is deserialized. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to serialize the value, because we are not sending anything with key. It is empty key for Kafka. We are just serializing the value part. So we will say value serializer will be equal to what? We need to provide a method. So name of the method. So here we are saying serializer. So the method is not created as of now, so we need to create it. So we'll say def JSON serializer, and as you can see, the error has gone. And the JSON serializer does what? Whenever this producer will be called to send the data will be sent through this JSON serializer. So what we need to do here is we need to just say we need to create it into a string, and since the data is JSON, so we will need some JSON library to perform some operation. So I'll just import JSON library of Python, and here what I'm gonna do, I will say return json.dumps. Json.dumps was it stringifies the JSON data. So json.dumps dot the data is the input to it, and we'll say encode as UTF-8. So it is encoding. You can read it on some blogs or online that what is the meaning of this encode. It just helps you to during deserialization and serialization, nothing is lost as symbols or anything. That's why we use a particular encoding method. So our JSON serializer is also complete. And now what we're going to do, we will have to run this file so that we can send data. So in that case, we'll use the important feature of Python, that is if name equal to __ main. You can follow one of my videos where I've explained it. And we are doing what? We will run it in a while loop because we want stream of data. We just don't want a single registration and then it should not end. There should be a stream of data. So what I'm going to say is registered data will be equal to get registered data. So this is the method that we are calling and it is created here. Once we have the registration data, we will say print and then registered data. So just for the sake that okay, data is being generated and it is getting printed, I have just printed it here. Then finally, we will be using the send command over the producer instance. So you can see producer is here and we are using the send command. And in the send command, we will be using a topic name. So the first parameter is topic name. So I'll say registered user because this is the topic name of Kafka. We'll just now create it. I'll show you how to create it. We'll be sending this data in the registered user. And the data is what? Registered data. So whenever you will send this data, so the registered data that we are passing, first it will go through this JSON serializer. So it will be received here and finally we'll get a stringified format and then it will be pushed. Now one important thing, if we run this file as of now, then lots of data will be published every second. It can be 1000 based on your CPU speed. But what I'm gonna do, I will send data every 3 seconds or every 4 seconds. So for that, I'm going to import the time module. So with the time module, I'm going to do what? I'll say time.sleep and the interval is 3. So 3 says 3 seconds. So this application does what? It takes the registration data, fake registration data, and then finally it sends it to Kafka producer with an interval of 3. Now here is one problem. I need to just change it to, okay, it will be created. So there's a spelling mistake. I generally do lots of spelling mistakes. Now everything looks fine. So our Python producer is created. Let's go to our browser here, and in the browser we will open our Kafka manager. So the Kafka manager that we have seen is running on which port? If you see Kafka manager, it is running on port 9000. So I'll just come here. I'll say 192.168.0.10 and then 9000. So this Kafka manager will give you a very good graphical user interface for your Kafka. So the cluster name, first we need to add a cluster. So if I again go here, you need to define your cluster. So the name of the cluster I'm giving a self-test cluster, and the zookeeper will be zookeeper 2181. Now why this is zookeeper 2181? Because when I'm creating the instances, you can see the name of the service is zookeeper. So that's why I have written zookeeper, and the port on which it is running is 2181. That's why it is 2181. You need to select this, enable JMX polling, then poll consumer, and then enable active offset cache. Just go here and just save this. So this will do what? This will let you enter inside your cluster. Now inside the cluster, you have a default topic that is consumer offset. Now we'll create our own topic, and the name of the topic is registered user, where we'll be publishing the data using this producer. So you can see it is registered user. So I'll copy it. I'll just come here and I'll paste it. So it is fine. Everything looks fine, and I'll create. So you got a new topic, and you see there is no latest offset, which means what? There is no data present here. As soon as we will start publishing the data, the sum of partition offset, and in the partition information, latest offset will be increased. If you want to learn about the details of Kafka, everything, every integrate details, you can follow my tutorial. I have created a series on Kafka for beginners. You can follow that and you can get the knowledge. Fine. So the Kafka part is done. Let's go to our slide and we can see what things have been completed. So this part is complete, like producer is there and we are publishing the data to Kafka server. Now we have installed everything. Logstash is installed on my operating system. And as I have shown you, the data or the folder where we'll be creating the Logstash pipeline is present, where it is inside this /etc logstash conf.d. We will be creating this pipeline which is present here. So our job is what? Our job is to read data from Kafka and push it to Elasticsearch. So Logstash has three responsibilities. One is the consumption of data, that is reading data from somewhere, then is the filtering of data, and finally it is pushing of the data. So in this case, what we are doing, we are reading it from Kafka and we are publishing it to Elasticsearch. So these are default configuration which is present inside Logstash, which you can use to consume from Kafka and publish it to Elastic. You can see here that how easy it is to write this configuration. So I'll just come here, I'll copy it, and then what I'm going to do here, I'll go to my Linux box, and here in this folder, what I'm going to do, if I do pwd, this is the folder /etc logstash conf.d. I'm going to write a new file. The file will be pipeline.conf. Okay, and I'll just paste this file. Now we need to do some modification. The modification is what? I'm going to provide the IP address. So because I'm running everything here, so the machine has the IP address of 192.168.0.10. So that's why I'm providing this. Now Bootstrap is running where? The Kafka Bootstrap, it is running on port 9092, which I have shown you previously. The topic from where we'll be reading is registered user, because we are publishing the data there itself. Now the output is Elasticsearch, and the Elasticsearch is also running on this server only. So that's why I need to change the local host here. 192.168.0.10. Now let's see where this Elasticsearch is running. So if I come here, Elasticsearch, it is running on port 9200. So this is okay, 9200 is there. In Elasticsearch, we have something called as index, and this index behaves as a database. So we are saying that all the data that you are reading from this topic of this Kafka, just publish or push that data to this particular index or this particular database, and we are providing a worker of 1 which is by default. So if you want to increase the performance anything, you just need to see the extra configuration in Logstash documentation. Let's save this file. So I'll just write and quit, and the file has been saved. What I'm going to do here is on the left hand side, if you see, I'll just split my screen, and what I'm going to do, I'll go to the log folder of Logstash. So I'll say var log Logstash, and here you can see I'll just do a tail of -f and this. So this will help me to understand that everything is running. Okay, previous logs are there. So currently there is no log, and currently Logstash is not running, which I have shown you previously. Now let's open Elasticsearch here. So the Elasticsearch can be Elasticsearch or Kibana. So the Kibana is the graphical user interface. So I'll say 192.168 and 0.10 and 5601, because we have seen Kibana is running on that. So I'll say here no, explore with my own data, and you can see this is the interface for Kibana. So you can see there's management where we do the index management, and there's discovery and anything, because we don't have any index as of now, so the discovery is not working. So I'll come here, and since we are not having any data, that's why we don't have any index pattern or anything. So if I come here, there's nothing. No, if you search, if you create, there's nothing. So let's start our Logstash, which will do what? Which will start consuming from this Kafka, and then it will publish the data to Elasticsearch. Before that, we need to start our producer. So let's come to our PyCharm here, and what I'm going to do is I'll just say play this button. So this will do what? This will say unrecognized config bootstrap servers. Okay, so it is bootstrap servers, not servers. Okay, so I told you the spelling is very important. So bootstrap and servers. So let's start it again, and this time you can see we got the first name Brandon Good, Dennis Johnson. So after every 3 seconds that we have given here, the data is being pushed. Let's go to our Kafka manager, and if I do a refresh, you can see 5 sum of partition offset is there, and also the latest offset is 5, which means 5 registration data has been pushed. Now 6. You can see there is no consumer because we have not started the Logstash, or nothing is consuming from this topic. That's why the consumer list here is empty. So if I again reload it, you can see the number is increasing, but in the Kibana there is no data. There's nothing because we have not started our Logstash. Let's start the Logstash here. So I'll go to my Linux terminal, and on the right hand side, if you see on my cursor, I'll just say sudo system ctl start Logstash. Because I'm using Ubuntu, that's why I'm using this command, but the process will be same for any operating system. So the Logstash has been started, and if I again do sudo systemctl status, you can see the Logstash is active and running. It is saying now resetting offset of partition user 0 offset to 33. So I think it is started consuming the data. Let's reload it here, and if I come here, you can see there's nothing. Let's go to see index management. You can see it has come. The index management registered user index that we have created in our Logstash pipeline configuration, it is present here. Now what we need to do is we need to define an index pattern. For that, we will come to this index pattern, and here I am going to create a new index pattern. As you can see, I'll just say registered user and star, which will say your index pattern matches with one index, which means if I go through this, the data inside this registered user index will be visible in this index pattern. So there's no rocket science in it. Just type the name and give it next, and here you need to use the timestamp filter so that it is here. Now you can specify some more setting before we create another thing, so time filter will be used. So basically timestamp, create the index pattern, and it will start creating the index pattern. Okay, so it has given all these attributes to it. Now let's go to the home here. We'll click here, and here in the discover we'll go. So if you see here, you will see discover. So now what is there? You can see the logs. Very cool. So now you can see these are the things that are present here. Louis Williams, George Miller, another thing. Let's do what? Let's do it a refresh after every 2 seconds. So start the refresh, and you can see here, you will see that this pane is moving on the left and the data is coming. So you can see every time, you can see here, this is changing after every 2 seconds because it is reading the data from Elasticsearch in an interval of 2 seconds. So the data is being sent here from the Kafka producer. So now this whole pipeline is working. That is, producer is sending here, Logstash is consuming, it is sending the data to Elasticsearch, and finally Kibana is reading. So you can see here the new data is being produced. Now let's search, see the power of Elasticsearch. So let's search someone with the name of John, means how many people with the name John has been registered in our system. So what I'm gonna do, I copied that name, or I'll just say John, and I'll just hit enter. So you can see we got only one John Brown. Let's see how many names got here with Brown. Okay, there's only one name. So let's remove this and hit enter. So this will do everything. Let's search how many came with the name Christopher. So I just come here. Okay, so we got 3 people with the name Christopher as the first name. So Christopher Robinson, Christopher Freeman, and Christopher Hatfield. So you can see that if you want to do all this searching in your logs and other thing, you can just use this Kibana feature on the Elasticsearch to all the data searching and other thing. So we have completed this pipeline that is producing the registration user to this Kafka server Logstash, which is consuming, pushing it to Elasticsearch, and we have read it through Kibana by creating an index. I will provide you the links of all these posts for the installation in my video description. You can go and look it there, that what are the different things. You can follow other posts also here to understand how you can install Docker Compose, how you can install Docker Jenkins, and everything that is present here. So hope you like this video, hope you like my channel. Please subscribe to my channel and please share these videos with other people. Thank you.